Work stuff. Well,
How's the
you know,
first? What's it like? You texted me and you said you made significant improvements to your billing. Is that
yeah,
something we can talk about on the
yeah,
air?
it's not super exciting, but I know that's something you're into. But I mean, it's so we've got assets in a number of different places and a number of different billing methodologies. So some are more subscription based, which is easy. That just kind of hits, that kind of bills people every month, and that's automatic. And then you've got some that are flat fee. That's obviously easy, but a lot of the other ones are based on, asset based. So you don't know what the assets are going to be until the end of the quarter. So they're quarterly in arrears. So there's some calculation behind those, but every quarter gets a little bit streamlined. And a lot of, I mean, there's software that does it, but a lot of the software bills per account. It's not a flat fee like $500 a month for this service. They're like, oh yeah, well, it's only $2 a month if you use our billing platform. But I have so many small accounts, it's like that it just doesn't make sense. So it's easier for me to just carve out half an hour on a Sunday or something and just do it. So every quarter it just gets a little bit better. It's probably as good as it can be right now. My two main custodians are Schwab and TD, so it's two different systems, but
Yeah.
they're merging and it's all going to come under Schwab. And Schwab has the better, easier for me to bill on Schwab. So
I was going
that'll
to
be,
ask you about that. So
yeah,
that may be the value of the video today. The TD and Schwab merge. Can you talk about that?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
my
sure.
my brokerage is TD right now, so I
Yep.
guess and I've been getting notices that there's going to be changes and whatnot.
Yeah. So pretty similar companies actually. If you get into the corporate side of it, the way it originally sort of came about was TD was almost kind of a smaller version of Schwab. There are a lot of similar processes, and they also had a side that works with advisors. So both companies will work directly with clients, and then they also have like pretty robust advisor platforms as well. And then Schwab, they had more revenue coming from bank side and other sources of revenue than they did from trading. So remember, if you go back, like all the trading costs, it was like $15 a trade, and then it was $9.99, and then it was
Right.
$8, and they were all kind of cutting each other. And then Schwab just looked at it. They're like, man, we don't really make much revenue from trading anyway. One of our biggest competitors is TD. They make a larger portion of their revenue from trading. So Schwab said, we're just gonna make trading free, and they were the first to go zero cost trading on stocks and ETFs. And then like a week later, TD had to compete, but it was a significant part of TD's revenue, so that sort of hurt TD more than it hurt Schwab. And then that opened up the door for Schwab to go out and buy TD. So that's kind of how that all came about. But it seems like they're taking it slow. They're doing things the right way. There's some technologies that TD did a really good job with. So, for example, they have this rebalancing software where I can go in and, let's say I have 2 or 3 clients that are invested similarly. I can rebalance their accounts all at once based on a model. So that's called iRebal. That was something that TD had bought a few years back. So Schwab is like, instead of just taking it over and drawing a line through everything, we really like that. We're going to keep that and implement that. So they're trying to do the right thing. There's some little quirky things that'll have to get ironed out, and as there always is with any sort of merger. There's something weird with like so TD will allow you to do, I think it's that they're like, if you want to put money into your account, you can do it on the first day of the month, the 15th, and the last day of the month, or something like that. And Schwab has it so it's the first, 15th, or they do like the 28th of the month or something. So there's a few of those that are a little bit weird that they'll have to, we call it repapering. So they'll have to fill out a new application or something just because the language doesn't jive. So the regulators are like, nah, you can't just take it over and change a process for, it has to be a new application. So there's some interesting things like that'll flow through, but that should come through. I think they're saying second and third quarter of this year. So
I'll be in a new app, you think, or they're going to keep I mean, they're going to make some app changes and some site changes, I'm sure, right?
yeah, and I think they'd be smart to sort of keep the TD brand for a while and slowly merge it and basically get to the point where the apps look the same, and then they can draw a line through one rather than migrate
Right.
everybody over at once. So,
Right.
so we'll see how that goes. I think some of it they're going to do like the first tranche and see how that goes, and
Right.
then they might, if they see that everybody that was using the TD is now already switched over to the Schwab, then they'll draw a line through the TD and that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, we deal with these kinds of migrations with our clients all the time, and sometimes with the vendor support. Without the vendor support, that's what like IT has been for in the back end, anyways, for forever, merging disparate systems and databases. And I don't know if I mentioned this on the pod or not, but I was recently admitted to an MBA program at UConn, and that starts in the fall. And I just started going through the orientation and online setups, and I have an email at uconn.edu now, and it's very obvious that they have like different platforms because I'm creating a password over here and creating a password over here, and they have single sign-on with Google. Oddly enough, they have like app. They have the students have access to Microsoft 365 apps, but then they host their email in Google Workspace. So like they're using both platforms. It was a bit surprising that they're doing it. So and then I had to call the help desk because I was like, I can't log in, and they're like, well, you don't have a secondary login, so you can't do a password recovery to get into your new account. And I'm like, but you have my personal email. Oh, that's a different system. So we have you over here and we're not over there. So, and what are the big database guys? Is it Oracle? Like Oracle and SAP? You ever heard of those companies?
Yeah.
So those are like just mega database companies. So, when a bank goes and my banks, and I don't know if I'm probably from a security standpoint, sharing way too much about where my brokerage and banks are, but I was banking at People's Bank forever, and they just got bought by a company called MTB.
Yep.
And so now I don't go to People's Bank anymore. So it's migrations.
Yeah, and that's one that I'm not a customer there but I've heard has not gone very well. I don't know if you can speak to that or not, but that's one that I didn't hear.
It went well-ish. So like we just have this problem where and this is a database thing. They didn't bring forward all of your statements and account activity from the people's database systems. And that's one way to doing a migration, by the way, is just kind of a clean break.
Yeah.
You bring your balances forward and then you just kind of start a clean data set in the new database. And then if you need a historical look back, you just keep that other system up for a while, and then you keep looking back at it. So that's definitely one methodology that we use when the systems are too far different, and that's causing a little problem for us on the accounting side, unfortunately, but which is resulting in some manual data entry.
Yeah, and there's been some talk on that with Schwab and TD, like how much history is going to come over and all of that. So they've had a series of calls for advisors. I'll admit I haven't been on all of them. I've sort of caught the highlights in here and there, but a lot of the advisors I know and then a lot of solo guys and gals only worked with TD or only worked with Schwab, and I was kind of working with both of them, so I don't have to learn the Schwab systems. So I've been kind of watching it a little bit from afar, but
it's like a cliff that we're all going over.
yeah, and there'll be issues. A lot of since the merger is announced, I like the account opening process with TD, so I was still opening accounts at TD, but for some of the bigger accounts and some of the more complicated stuff, I was just opening those at Schwab, so they won't have to be migrated. So
when you say you're opening accounts, you open accounts for your clients, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So when you do that, do you have to get power of attorney?
So it's a DocuSign package. So when I log into TD, I see all my clients and all that sort of stuff, and then I can click open an account, and then So it's either a new account, a new client, or an existing client. If it's existing, it'll pre-populate the application for them. So it'll be a TD app, but there's special TD advisor apps. So it'll have TD Ameritrade and all their information in the top left, and then it'll have all my information in the top right. And so it's an advisory app in there. And then so it's the TD app, and then I can attach all my advisory agreements to that same DocuSign, which is nice, and then send it to the client as a package. And then it goes to TD, and then they open the account, and then I download all the apps, and I can keep all that stuff. So
cool.
Yep.
So the brokerage host kind of tees up that facility for you.
Yep. Yeah, it's their application, so we're attaching to their process. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
So we talked about last show or two, end of year wrap up. So what advice do we have now for what advice do you have now for the first of the year? What are we doing now? What are our resolutions?
Not a huge resolution guy, but I think for me it's going to be to try to draw a line through things that I have a natural inclination to help people and do different things that aren't necessarily the most profitable. So I have to sort of push those off to the side. Some of the networking stuff that I did locally, I'm going to pause that for a little bit, just because it gets very redundant. And I think sometimes less is more, so if people are seeing you every couple of weeks and you're saying the same things or whatever, if, there's one group that I've been in for a long time, and it's, there's some turnover there, but you end up saying the same things to the same people. So that I think I'm going to pause from a little bit. I think that those networking things sort of run their course after a while. So I'm just going to focus more on the one-to-many kind of philosophy of, all right, if somebody calls and asks a question, there's probably a whole swath of clients with that same question. So let's answer them. Let's solve that issue, but then let's get that out in a video. Let's get that out in an email,
Right.
and go that route rather than, going to the local diner and talking to a bunch of strangers who may or may not. Half the people in the room are thinking about what they're going to say, or they're thinking about, something they should have done with their kids before they dropped them off at school, that kind of stuff. So, I don't know, I guess so I guess that's my resolution, is just to focus on more profitable things. And I don't mean that from a sense of getting rid of non-profitable clients or things like that, but that next level of certain, trying to help people that don't necessarily want to be helped or don't recognize it. So, don't appreciate the stuff that you do. So there's a prospect who's halfway across the state that runs the small business, and you're kind of half interested in the 401k plan. And we've gone back and forth on 2 or 3 emails. And I sent her a spreadsheet. I said, all right, I just need your census data with your employees, which she could just export from her payroll system or whatever. And then instead she sends me, like, she wrote down everybody's date of birth, takes a picture of it and emails it to me. And then she's like, I didn't get everybody's phone number, so I'll get that to you later. And I'm thinking, like, all right, why am I trying to help this person if they're not willing to put in some sort of effort here, if this isn't something they're serious about? And, anything under 10 employees is not, super profitable anyway. And yeah, I could throw a $5,000 startup fee on her or something, but she's not going to pay for it anyway. So, so those type of plans, it's like, all right, a year ago, I might've just kept fighting and done the work for her. But now it's like, yeah, I don't have time for that. So, just to focus on more people that appreciate it and understand the work that you're doing, and are going to be responsible clients, really.
Yeah, I went through that transition. I think I probably talked about it ad nauseum at this point, because it's kind of one of my, it's one of those feathers in my caps. It's one of those things I feel really proud about doing. I don't know, maybe about 4 years ago, I instituted something as simple as an onboarding fee. At first it was $200. Now it's $500. I do envision a day when it's even $1,000. And just the first time I did that, it was so, it was a decision to onboard better clients rather than all clients. And because I
Right.
was the same way, the amount of charity that we've put out
Hmm.
was extensive over the last 15 years. And yeah, it does get to the point where you're wanting to help people who don't know how to be helped or don't want to be
Right.
helped as much as you want to help them.
Hmm.
And I've been a business owner too, and I've been extended probably the similar kind of help and knowledge, and we all kind of have the timing of when we are prepared and able to receive certain people and certain help along the
Sure.
way. My revelation this year, this month, was, I used to think sales was a bad word.
Hmm.
I've said that so many times to you, I think
Yeah.
on the show, and it's so not a bad word. And
Right. Right.
for so many years, I kind of with pride ran this company without any sales apparatus,
Mm.
without any sales function, without any with a fumbling marketing effort. And it's so different. I'm so backwards now. And maybe I could say this losing perspective that I've spent the last 15 years building a world-class service delivery team.
Hmm.
So I'm maybe taking that for granted, but now I look at it and I'm like, I have these moments over and over again in business and career, where I'm like, God damn it, I wish I knew that. Then,
Yeah.
the first employee I would have hired would have been a business development
Hmm.
representative, a BDR, they're called.
Yeah.
Somebody who's literally prospecting our ideal customers and adding those ideal customers to our CRM, and then sending emails out every week and making phone calls every week, and
Yeah.
just building those relationships into the pipeline of new business.
Hmm.
And we just hired our first BDR this month,
Hmm.
and now I look back, I'm like, oh my God, it's so instrumental to have that resource and be a sales forward company, because if you're not bringing in new oxygen, you're
Right.
going to use all the oxygen in the room and then you die. I mean, if that's
Yeah.
the metaphor you want to use. So
Yeah. Or if you're not growing, you're dying, or that
if
sort
you're
of
not
thing.
growing, you're dying.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I mean, it sort of ebbs and flows, and if you had focused 100% on sales, then your service probably would have suffered, or you would have gained too many clients that you couldn't service, and it would have gone the other way. So, yeah, it
It's
is sort
true.
of that push-pull thing too. Um, yeah, I mean, there's certain, at this point with your business, the capacity and how many clients you can take with a certain number of employees that you have, and
Right.
if you gain a bunch of new clients, you got to hire some service people, and so you know how to ratchet that up. So,
Right.
um, but yeah, I mean, I think for me, part of the reason I do it is I always say it's part of the reason I'm in business is to protect clients from like other bad advisors. That's why I'll take people sometime. It's like, man, if I don't help this person, they're going to end up stuck with, insert chain franchise here.
Hero
And
syndrome. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So try to help those people so they don't get screwed somewhere else. But
I used to feel that way. I used to feel that exact way about being in business.
mhm,
And I hope this doesn't come across wrong, but that's not the reality for me anymore. I'm in business to make money and make a living and make a good living. And me and my clients are very fortunate, and my staff, by the way, are very fortunate that the way in which we do it, our culture, our company, is through integrity,
right.
is through world class service, is through industry best practices. That
Mhm.
is the path that I chose for us. But I'm no longer in business to save the world. And um, but when I have a meeting right after we disconnect with a prospect, and I'm invigorated to with every new discovery call that I have with a prospect, because by the time I get on a discovery call with somebody, they have a problem, and
Yes.
and I love being able to help people.
Mhm.
So I'm lucky that I get paid to help people, and
Right.
as you do, you know.
Yep.
But I'm not in business anymore to help people.
Right.
I'm in business to help myself and take care of myself. But our clients and future clients are really lucky that our prices are equitable.
Mhm.
We operate in the market, right in the gut of the market. So our pricing is fair. Our engagement models are fair. We have no no lock-in terms or
Yep.
anything. There's no long 3-year contracts.
Nope.
So that's the route we took. So if that makes sense, hopefully that
Yeah,
conveys
definitely
well.
does. Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes for me working with businesses or individuals, it comes down to personality. Do I like this person or not? If they're borderline with me as a client or a prospect, but I like them personally, or maybe there's somebody local, or it was a referral. I mean, I'm more likely to take somebody that was a referral. So there's a lot that factors into it. Yeah. But you learn that the clients generally don't change. So if there's problems in the onboarding process, there's going to be a problem in 6 months when they didn't upload their payroll. There's going to be a problem in a year when you need their census data and that sort of stuff. So,
And that's what a good onboarding process will do. It'll be enough hurdles. It'll be all the right hurdles. And I've talked about this last year.
yeah.
That the onboarding process really is a filtering process.
Hmm.
I've had several former clients call me repeatedly, and they're just running with their hair on fire, and their business from an IT standpoint and maybe some other regard is just a mess. They're kind of succeeding by brute force,
Hmm.
and they keep calling me, Eric, we need you, we need you, we need you. I was like, great. I just need you to fill out this form. It's a
Hmm.
very simple form, which is basically like who you are, who's getting the bill, who's the point of contact, what support plan you want, some basic inputs.
Yep.
Okay, I'll fill it out I'll fill it out soon. I'll fill it out. I'll fill it out, and then, it's a very simple administrative task. And yeah, this one, and she's a personal friend of mine. She's very lovely. She runs a mortgage brokerage firm, and yeah, she's a mess, but it's nice because the day that she maybe gets her act together and can get through this process, then she'll be a good client.
Right. Yeah.
And
You hope. Knock on wood.
yeah, well, and then the funny thing is, like, we have account servicing fees
Hmm.
for late unpaid invoices and things, and these are all the things that we put in place that alienated us from a subset of our former clients.
Yeah.
But when I instituted this, it was intended to do that. It was a filtering process,
Right.
because let's face it, like, good clients, they can they can get onboarded with you. They can stay engaged with you to get onboarded. They can
Hmm.
stay engaged with you to benefit from the service they're paying you for, and then
Right.
they can pay you on time for it.
Right.
And it's it's like, early days, that was a novelty, but
Hmm.
now that's really business norm for us.
Yeah.
That's really what we expect from all of our clients, and we don't really suffer anybody who can't do that, because that's mature business. That's
Mhm.
productive business.
Yeah.
I don't want
That
to.
is one thing that I like about our industry and don't take for granted is the fact that we have their money. So when we bill them, we have it.
Yeah,
We don't
right.
ever have to chase it. It's a lot
You don't.
easier when it comes from their accounts.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
yeah.
we used to do net 30, and we have a lot of clients, and technically, we have some clients that, the policy is you come on with a retainer
Hmm.
for the first year, and then if you ask for it, we can if you have good credit with us, we can switch you to a net 30 where we could pay you. But quite frankly, by then they don't really care either way.
Yeah.
So we have a mechanism that holds the retainer, draws from the retainer, and automatically charges them for the retainer. And it's the evolution of business. I love it.
Yeah. Nope. It's definitely a good thing. So much stuff is subscription and automatic payment now anyway. So you don't have to chase bills, which is good.
Yeah.